Okay, so welcome to our Thursday night rest and reset. This is the kidney edition. I've been thinking a great deal lately about the power of our adrenals and how they interact with the fluid of the kidneys. I think of the adrenals kind of like as the spark plugs because they're all fire. When we look at the kidneys and the adrenals from the Ayurvedic perspective, the kidneys are all water and the adrenals are all fire. So got a nice little pitta combination going on there. And if the kidneys are not nourished, then the adrenals will pay the price and vice versa, because the adrenals sit right on top of the kidneys. And the kidneys, I'm not going to pull up a diagram, but the kidneys, I think sit like low mid back, and they sit deep in the body, in the back body, I should say. And one of the things that I find interesting about the kidneys is that they actually attach to the subsurface of the diaphragm. So why I think that's so fascinating is we all know on the screen how important it is to keep our fascia and all of our connective tissues, but our fascia, particularly our visceral fascia, which is that which surrounds the organs, fluid and pliable and hydrated and mobile. So knowing that the top of the kidneys attaches to the diaphragm, think about when we take these deep diaphragmatic breaths, which that's, kind of a foundation of yoga. Consider what that is doing to the kidneys. It's like there's a little pumping mechanism in my mind anyway, when I visualize that happening. So seems like deep diaphragmatic breathing, the way I look at it, should also be nourishing for our kidneys. So tonight's practice, you'll need 2 bolsters. I'm using both a rectangle and a round. And if you'll set it up like this, because we're going to begin in Supta Baddha Konasana. So you'll need 2 bolsters, a blanket, and a strap. And after we spend a good deal of time in this Supta Baddha Konasana shape, then we'll get off of the props. We'll do a little bit of movement through our hips and our midsection to also, again, the whole visual tonight is picturing these organs, in our mid-low back, and how we might be manipulating them with our movement and with our breath, and supporting them with our movement and with our breath. We're also, well, anyway, that's enough for that. So your rectangle bolster goes to the head of the mat with a blanket on top, and then the round bolsters where we will put our knees. So come on down and get your space all jived up. Lower your lights and light your candles, cue up your spa music if that's your deal. So you'll swing your knees over the round bolster, bring this rectangle bolster, just maybe about a fist width away from your sacrum. And then we'll roll back. So the base of the rectangle bolster is supporting the extension of your lumbar spine. And again, if you wish, you can visualize the kidneys getting a little help from the bolster to move in and up into the body. Think opposite of prolapse. Once you have your back, head, and neck feeling supported and comfortable, then I'll have you lift your knees, bring your heels together, and then drop your knees apart so that your outer thighs and your knees remain supported on the round bolster, but our inner thighs are open. There's a main kidney meridian that moves up the inseam of the leg in Chinese medicine. So we're giving that a very gentle stretch, very gentle opportunity to open up and be fluid. And take your arms out to your sides with a soft bend to your elbows. Let your palms face up. And we're going to stay in Supta Baddha Konasana for about 7 minutes. I'm not going to give any intricate breathing instructions right now. I simply want you to just drop into the support of your props. Oh. Dropping into the support of your props and the support of the ground, simply rest. You can begin to deepen your inhalation. Lengthen your exhalation. And with each breath, deepening and lengthening, and perhaps even visualizing the diaphragm very tenderly pressing down on the kidneys as you inhale. And allowing the kidneys to return to right size as you exhale. Slowly bring your left knee up. Bring your right knee up. You can set your feet to the bolster that was underneath your knees and give it a little nudge off to one side. And then we'll roll over to a side and bring yourself up. Gonna have you set your blanket off to the side. Take the bolster that was under your back and take it over to the other side of your mat. So you've got a bolster on either side of your mat. And then come onto your back. We're going to use the bolsters in just a moment, so don't push them too far away, but we want them to not obstruct our knees. I'm going to have you take your feet wide on your mat. You can take your arms out like a T, or maybe like a cactus, or maybe bending your elbows and bringing your thumbs and index fingers together beyond your head, making a diamond shape with your arms. And then we're going to do some windshield wiper moves. As you inhale, your knees will go left. Come back through center as you exhale. And then take your knees to the right. And keep going at your pace. Your breath will guide your movements. If you want to turn your head opposite your knees, you can explore how that feels. And if you like it, do it. When your knees are next dropping over to the left, let's leave them there for several breaths. Come through center. Take your knees to the right. Return to center, please. Walk your feet towards one another. And bring your arms down to your side. You can rest your hands on your belly, maybe one hand at your belly, one at your low ribs. Now we just take 3 deep breaths. Expanding your belly as you inhale. A slight arch to your lower back. And then a soft contraction to your belly as you exhale, allowing your lower back to spread out on your mat. Good, twice more. Keeping your knees bent and your feet on your mat, bring your bolsters, one on each side of you. Snug them up to your outer hip. So one bolster to your outer right hip, one bolster snug up to your outer left hip. So you're kind of sandwiched. It kind of feels good. It's almost like being in a chute. All right. Then I'm going to have you bring your right knee into your chest. Give it a little squeeze, roll your toes around in one direction a couple of times, and then the other direction a couple of times. Okay, here's where your strap comes into the picture. Personally, I like to have a large loop with my strap. But if you don't want to mess with making a loop, don't make a loop. I like a loop. And whether you loop your strap or just keep it loose, you're going to take it over the ball of your right foot, send your right heel to the ceiling. And this is why I like a loop, because I can then have this loop so big that I can simply hook my hand through the loop and rest my elbow and shoulder on the floor. That way I'm not white knuckling by gripping the strap with my fingers so much. It's a bit more restful. So let's stay here for just maybe 2 or 3 more breaths. Just the right heel going straight up, right leg straight. And take your time getting the strap just how you like it, so that your right shoulder can be on the mat and your right arm can be somewhat at ease. Good. Now, if you like, you can take your left leg down onto the mat. Be sure to give yourself a little more slack with your strap if you need to. Good. And now we're going to take our right leg out to the right. So here's why that bolster is directly under your thigh. I'd like you to snug it up so much that the bolster is, somewhat supportive of your thigh, because we're going to stay here for a bit. In this shape, we're creating space, a more clear pathway for the kidney meridian that runs from the inner heel, I believe. It does run up the inseam of the leg. And as you push your right heel to the right, take your ribs slightly to the left. Turn your belly slightly to the left. It's a real subtle move. Bring your right leg back up, move slow. Bring your right knee to your chest. Release your strap. Place your right knee on, place your right foot on your mat. Keep your knee bent. And pull your left knee into your chest. Make some circles with your toes. Make sure you go both directions. Take your strap around the ball of your left foot, and straightening your left leg straight up, finding the vertical line. Allow your lower back to spread out on your mat. And stretch your right leg down onto the mat if you'd like. And now we'll take our left leg out to the left. Adjust your bolster if you need to, so that you've got the bolsters wedged right there underneath your left thigh. Rotate your belly to the right, your ribs to the right. And stretching through the inner line of your left leg. Press your left heel away from your body. And guide your left leg up to center. Bring your left knee to your chest. And you can lose the strap. Bring your right knee in to meet your left knee. You can slide your bolsters down out of the way. And just wrap your arms around your knees or your shins and let yourself rock from side to side. And I encourage you to go slow and really get that sense that compression and decompression of the kidneys as you roll over to one, freeing the other kidney and then rolling over to that kidney, almost like a seesaw. Okay, bring your feet to the floor and you're gonna roll over onto your belly. Oh, take your time. So we're gonna come into Sphinx pose for a few minutes. Now, I'm gonna give you some options. You can just go classic with your elbows and forearms on the floor. Gently lifting up your chin, chest, and sternum. Or another option is to use your props. You can take your round bolster and set the bolster kind of like right at the base of your front ribs. And then you can rest your elbows on the bolster, or you can bring them down to the floor. And just see if this feels good for you. I mean, you'll have to manipulate your breast tissue, like over the bolster. And what this does is it provides just a bit more lift, but at the same time, support. And you can feel, perhaps, I mean, there's more extension, definitely, in the low and mid back. And just as we were in Supta Baddha Konasana at the beginning of the practice, and I mentioned kind of visualizing the bolster, softly pressing the kidneys up under the safety of the ribs and kind of into the body a little deeper. This shape is doing much the same. We're drawing the kidneys in and up under the safety of the ribs. Bring some space into your mouth by separating your bottom teeth from your top teeth. Just let your eyes look softly towards the top edge of your sticky mat. Good. If you're using the bolster, I'm going to have you press your hands into the floor so you can give yourself just enough lift to slide the bolster out from underneath you. Come all the way down to your belly, your ribs. Turn your head to the right. Turn your head to the left. Bring your forehead to the floor. And we're going to press up onto our hands and our knees and make our way into child's pose. Stretching the kidneys. Oh, letting the back round slightly.
After the spinal extension and the kidney compression of Sphinx pose, now we're going to further elongate our kidneys and stretch our kidneys, and sweep your arms over to the left, reaching your right hand towards the top left corner of your mat, and using your left hand to give you a little lean into your right ribs. Make your way through center. Give yourself a pause at center for full breath in and a complete exhalation. And then you can go over to the other side when you're ready, taking your left hand, reaching towards the top right corner of your mat, and using your right hand on the floor, just beyond your right knee, to nudge you gently into your left ribs. Come to center again, please. Stretching evenly through both sides of your body. Walk your hands to your knees and lift yourself up. Okay, so take your rectangle bolster and place it across your mat. And then you're going to have a seat on the bolster. Come down onto your elbows. And then all the way down onto your shoulders and the back of your head for a supported bridge pose.
Now that you've had some time to take inventory of your low back and how your body's responding to this version of a spinal extension, if you choose, if you desire, you can stretch your legs down the length of your mat. And maybe take your arms overhead in a diamond shape or maybe in cactus arms. And if your low back ever, well, any part of you really, gives you sass, indicating this is not appropriate on this particular day in your life, then please keep your knees bent and your feet to the floor. Always remembering the rule, first rule of yoga. If you can't get out of discomfort, get out of the pose. If your legs are straight, please go ahead and bend your knees again, setting your feet on your sticky mat. And bring your arms down
and your hands to the corners of your bolster. You're going to lift your hips just high enough to slide your bolster towards your heels until you can bring your lower back and your sacrum and your bum down onto your mat. Take your knees, your thighs and your knees over your bolster. Use your blanket under your head as a pillow, or take it over your body for warmth. This is where cats come in really handy. I want you to smooth out your lower back. So you might lift your hips just a little bit and take your tailbone towards your bolster, like you're smoothing out any pleats in your lower back. And then invite your low back, your kidneys to spread out and broaden across the space of your mat. And for about 3 minutes, let's tap into ratio breath. And so you know how this goes. You first find a steady rhythm where you can create equanimity between the inhalations and the exhalations. When that begins to feel effortless, you'll lengthen the duration of your exhales until you're exhaling for twice as long as you're inhaling. Inhalations are deep and rich. Exhalations are slow and gentle.
At this point, you can release the control of your breath and let your breath find its own pattern and its own rhythm. Hmm. Now you can begin to move your fingers and move your toes. Your hands and your feet. Stretch through your arms and your legs in whatever direction or shape your space allows, and that feels just right in your body. And pull up your knees and set your feet to the floor. And then roll over to your favorite side and bring yourself up. Lift your hands to your heart. And we'll take our base of our thumbs to our forehead. And the peace that we cultivate on the mats and on the screen, may it translate as peace in our minds. And bring your fingertips to your lips. And the peace that we feel in the practice, may it translate to peace in our words. And finally, hands rest at your heart. And the peace that's generated from our time together on our mats and on our screens, may it translate as peace in our hearts. Thank you so much. May your kidneys be nourished.